Good morning. We're still working on our 32 by 8 transom panel, and I just finished the cementing. I have videos on how that's actually done. The reason I didn't do a video on it is because I can't move the camera. I've got my gloves on and got all this cement on the gloves, but I don't have any way to move the camera around to show but one spot. And here's some leftover cement. There it is. So you can see there you go. All right. And so what you do with that, and I'll talk about there are people that are interested in the cement other than people with just a casual interest in this thing. But anyway, the cement is a two-part mix that comes with the powder and the liquid, and it's called Miracle Mud. That's the name of it. And a lot of people, there are several things that people are real funny about in respect to glass. And one of those is the soldering iron they choose, and I've talked about that. The other thing is the glass cutter. People want to fight over what kind of glass cutter you're using or not using. And then cement. And whatever kind of cement you're using, somebody else has one that's better. And I'm not saying this one is better. I'm just saying I've been cementing windows since 1976. I used to make all my own cement, blah, blah, and all that kind of stuff. But maybe, I don't know, 10 years or so with leaded glass windows, actual lead came windows, I've been using this Miracle Mud. It's great. Works great. I really like it. You can mix it to the consistency that you want. And I have it about right here. And what you do with that, for those, I don't think anybody's really interested in it that doesn't do this kind of work, but you put it on here and you rub it underneath the edges of the lead came on both sides of the panel, and that locks down or cements these windows in, makes them waterproof. Of course, this one's going to be interior window, but it also, the glass does not move inside the cane. Now, my windows are pretty tight, so there's not much movement anyway, but this just locks it down into a real solid panel. Also, when that stuff dries, and it's on this panel on both sides, when that stuff dries, it makes this panel considerably more rigid, which is a good thing because it's a leaded panel. Although this one is very small, only 8 inches wide, and it's going to be inherently strong anyway. Now, the lead looks a little bit dark here right now, and we'll just grab a little piece of, and it's supposed to look ultimately dark, but I just put the cement on both sides. I'll flip this over and show you this other side. So there's not really a front or back to this. It's finished beautifully on both sides. And I'll come back after I get it completely cleaned up. And these seeds in here, sometimes they get a little hollow toward the top, and I'll come in and take let's get an X-Acto blade. You could use a toothpick. Get an X-Acto blade and clean out all these little spots here. And then what I do, I don't see it here right now handy, but I have a little brass brush, and I'll brush that little hole out right there and get that cement out of there. The hole is, someone would say that uses cement, oh, you better get that out of there before it dries. Actually, if it dries, it just chips out. So there's not that many of those. Here's a little one right here. We'll clean that up, and then you can see a little bit of the cement right here. So we still have that to get out. But I want to show you the next thing. I'll let this dry for a few hours, and then the next thing I'll do is just carefully go over the lead. And you should wear a mask if you're doing this. I'm not going to do much of this anyway. You don't want any lead dust in your lungs. Oh, man, is this pretty. Okay. We're just going to do this center spot here. And when the cement dries even more, I'll come back in. So I see a little bit. Looks like a little bit more of it on the other side. Anyway, what you want to do is clean this lead up real good, real well. I guess that's what you're supposed to say, real well. Oof, look how pretty that is. All right. And then I will get the camera out when we do the patina. And the patina on this is going to be real easy, but we've got that clean. And it's also important, and a lot of people have a lot of trouble getting the zinc to take black patina, and I'll show you how to do that. But you want to get that zinc nice and clean. Get all your joints nice and clean. Okay, so you want the zinc real clean, and you want this real clean. So it wouldn't take 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes to do clean up both sides here. And then I'm going to come back over it before I put the patina on with my vacuum. Vacuum up all the debris. Now, there are a lot of people that use whiting, which is basically plaster of Paris. So they get the cement in, work it all under the lid, and then what I do is I come back with a larger brush, let it dry just a little bit, and I come in with a larger brush, and I'm brushing all around, getting the excess off. And then I come in with a paper towel and wipe up any more. And then I have my vacuum running, and I come in with this little soft bristle brush, and I brush all around as I'm vacuuming. That cleans up about 90% of the cement. Then I come in, see where we've got a little debris down here. We just vacuum all this up. Then I come in with my vacuum, clean it again. Then I come in with a little sharp instrument like this, and I go in here, and there's, see, I clean that up. After I've got it all clean, looks good, vacuumed up, then I come in and I have a, I don't see one here handy, but I'll have one out when we do it. When I patina this thing, I use a sponge, and I just lightly wet the sponge and just come back and forth over the lid, turns it black. And then out here, we'll do this on the video. Out here, I take one wipe of the zinc and don't touch it. Leave it alone. And that usually works out pretty good to get the zinc about as black as you want it. I have in the past, I wouldn't do it on this window, I have in the past, because copper patina is a stronger acid than what we use on black patina, I have in the past gone for, and like I say, it wouldn't work on this window, but I've gone for a steampunk look. And what that is I use black patina on all of the lead, interior lead, but not on this outer border. So I got black patina up to about right there, all the way around. Then I come back with a separate sponge, and I've got that sponge soaked up with a little bit of copper patina, and I run that copper patina along the edge, all the way around. And that copper patina is more aggressive on this zinc than the black patina, and it'll turn this zinc black. But here on the intersections, it turns it copper going into black. So you have this really good looking effect, and I've done that on painted pieces, maybe a butterfly or something that I was looking, and the butterfly had some leaves that it was setting in. And so that steampunk or outer perimeter with copper patina, and then the interior perimeter with black patina, that's a special look that looks really good. So anyway, this is a pretty good looking little lead piece. This is a kind of a, I like the size of it because I was able to, get it all in one little run here. Well, I don't think it was difficult as much as, boy, you want those straight lines to be straight. And I think we did 3 or 4 videos explaining my method, and I'm sure others' method, of how I'm getting those lines so straight. and how this thing is exact from one end to the other. And of course, as I mentioned before, that always starts with an excellent drawing. If your drawing's off, then needless to say, the window's going to be off. Or if your drawing's off, you think you're going to go in and correct the problems in your drawing with the window, that just doesn't make any sense. So my best advice on these is get that drawing perfect, or as perfect as you can get it. And in the case of this window, I want 8 by 32. I want everything square. I want these pieces here, the distance from the inside of that cane, the zinc cane. By the way, that's 1/2 inch U-channel zinc cane. The distance from the inside of that cane, or the cut line on this glass, to the edge of the glass, or the cut line underneath this lead, is exactly the same from one end of this thing to the other. Gee, I can't remember. It's 30... I don't remember how many millimeters it is, but I know one thing. I think it's 27 on this. It's right exact. And that's why when you're building this thing, and I've got videos on this thing so you can go back and refresh your recollection. But when you set this piece of glass in here, and you're on that line, which is where you need to be, on this line, because you've drawn that line exactly parallel to this line, you want, or theoretically, if this thing was 27 millimeters, it would fit that line perfectly. If you put your glass in there and it doesn't fit, there's only two things that could possibly be wrong. Either your line wasn't right, or your glass cutting wasn't right. The prerequisite to starting the cutting, if you had your drawing perfect, but then you put your glass down and it's not perfect, then you know you've got a problem with your glass cutting. So there's where you start trying to correct what's wrong. And that's the way this was built. Of course, like I say, it's a small window. We could do this same thing on a window many times this size, because you're determined and disciplined to get all these lines straight. And what's going to happen is this window's going to go above a door in this gorgeous home, and people will look up there and see the window, and if this thing's off, any part of that thing's off, because it's just long lines, it's noticeable. So you just don't want anything wrong. You want everything squared up. So there you go. Let's see. So I guess I'll be back. I'm going to let this sit overnight, all day today, overnight. Come back and steel wool it, and then I'll do the patina. The patina video will be about 15 minutes long, if it's that long. And then this will go through a cleaning process where what I have is basically just elbow grease. So I come in with Q-tips and everything else, try to clean this thing up. That's where some people use the whiting to polish and clean the glass. I'm not opposed to that. I just hate all that dust. So I might, I leave that step out, and I've got whiting, but I'll just go ahead and clean the thing by hand. I don't know. I'm kind of about halfway thinking of putting whiting on this, and I haven't put whiting on a window in years. But I'm always looking to back up, and because I've gone a different direction, is that the best way to go? So I'll come back and change my mind as I'm talking to you. I'm going to go back and I'm going to put whiting on this window, polish that whiting in, clean it off, and see if the window is as clean and pristine as I want it to be, or am I okay just doing it by hand? It takes quite a little while to polish up this thing by hand with Q-tips and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to see if the whiting does me a better job. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I have, and I will come up with a determination about that somewhere along the way. I may just need to back up. I used whiting many years ago. Then I went from whiting to sawdust. Went from whiting to sawdust, and that worked out pretty well. Still a lot of dust. I just hate dust. So anyway, we'll come up with a plan to get this thing cleaned up. And we're going to try the... now, I've got some sawdust. I could try sawdust. But I'm going to go to the whiting, because a lot of people use whiting. And everybody raves about it. I've used it. It was so long ago that I used it, I don't remember how good it was. All right. If you have questions about this thing and where we are with it right now, or where we're going to go, let me know. And I never slow down here, so what's going to happen is this little panel is going to go right on my little rubber. Hey, I should mention this here. I think I've talked about this. This stuff you just get at Walmart. It's that kind of rubbery shelf liner. And so I lay glass on here and look at glass, cut some glass on it. This stuff is really nice. I've got another rubber mat under here. But this I can just flop back, and I think I've talked about this. That white line is on this black mat. So in case I'm cutting a piece of clear glass, I can move my cut line over to here and see what I'm doing. So that's what that's for. And we've done a bunch of that stuff on video. Boy, do I have a lot of videos. I don't even know how many, but there's a bunch of them. Okay, well, I appreciate it. And like I say, any more questions, be sure and ask me. Thanks a lot. Bye now.